What's up, guys? Bergs here from the Casual Athlete, and this is NRL Last Minute Madness for Round 7. What is going on, guys? Bergs here from the Casual Athlete, and I am solo tonight as Longy is off doing his TED Talk fantasy tour of the world. But have no fear, we are here to do our tips, our fantasy analysis. Longy has sent through some predictions of his own, so I will do my best to carry us through this video tonight and give you predictions from both of us. But before we do that, guys, just make sure that you download the TBC Live app. The link is in the description below. Get in on the banter with us, make some big predictions. There are prizes to be won, and get in our tipping comps. The winner gets some big prizes as well. Now, guys, let's get into some round 7 tips, and we start the round with Manly taking on the Dragons at Four Pines Park. Now, this is a very interesting game to me, and the big matchup comes in the form of the centre pairings. The right centre, Ruben Garrick for Manly, has had a couple of dim weeks in recent weeks, and then Valentine Holmes, he is coming up against him this week. And Val Holmes had a great week. And I've got to say, in this game, I expect Manly to be a bit better than they have been the last couple of weeks. They're back at home. Yes, they weren't so great at home last time out. I don't expect that to happen. And for me, the Dragons are this team that just don't really find ever any consistency. They won last week, so the natural thing for me is to select Manly this week, as I believe the Dragons will lose this one. Only get the 1.5 points for it, as you can see on screen there. The Dragons tip, yes, it does get me that 2.9 points, but I am currently coming 12th overall in TBC Live, and I'm actually winning one of the tipping comps as well. So we'll edge on the side of Manly here. Really expect them to bounce back. Some big predictions from us, guys. First from Longy is that Dylan Egan will come off the bench and get 50 fantasy points in this one. Longy has told me that he believes that he will make quite a lot of tackles. There was a lot of tackles last week as well. He's just got a great motor on him. A couple of comparisons to Brock Lesnar during the week. Maybe he is, getting those traps, that thick neck going. I do love Dylan Egan as well, so hopefully that does get up. And then I am going Manly to put on a score. They are going to get 30 plus points back at home and demolish the Dragons. Let's move on to the next game, and it is the Dogs taking on the Rabbitohs on Easter weekend. It is the big match that always happens every Easter weekend, but fun fact for you guys to know is that the Dogs haven't actually beaten the Rabbitohs in this particular fixture since 2017. Yes, 6 straight losses to the Rabbitohs at Easter time for the Doggies, and the big matchup for me is Carraz and Critter going against Ewan Aitken and Tass. Now, not my favourite centre wing pairing there for the Rabbitohs. It's a big back row or back 5 that they've gone with this week, aside from Jai Gray, but he is playing out of his skin at the moment. Definitely the form fullback of these two. And the Dogs, they come off the bye and they definitely needed a rest. Burton is back into the side this week, but Kikau is among the reserves. He may come back. It's really interesting for me. I did a tipping video on Monday and I backed the Rabbitohs, and I'm going to continue to do that this week. I get 4.3 points for it. I'm happy to lose the 1.3 if it does go the other way. It's no skin off my nose, and I can definitely catch up a few spaces if the Rabbitohs get up here. I really like what they've been doing to start the year, and Wayne Bennett, he loves playing against these teams that are riding high and just crushing their confidence. So I'm definitely thinking he'll come up with a game plan to be able to beat this dog side. Some big predictions for the game, guys. Jacob Preston seems to be hitting on all cylinders at the moment. If Kikau comes back into the side, though, he will go to the right-hand side where he has been playing most of the time when Kikau has been there. So don't know about his involvement for this one, 60 fantasy points. If Kikau's not there, I expect that to get up. But if Kikau comes back in, expect them to not go to him as much. And for me, I expect this game to be a gritty game. It's going to be very defensive. That is why my big prediction is for this game to be under 40 total match points. I just think that both of these teams will defensively keep each other in check, and the Rabbitohs can compete for long periods of the game, but so can the Dogs. It's about, for me, they have been easily the best team to start this year, highlighted by the fact that they're in first spot, but I don't know how long they can keep that energy up for. If they can keep it up through 25 rounds, we did see them lose steam towards the end of last year. They had this style in place, but maybe with an off season under their belt of it, they can continue it right into those finals and be a dominant team. But I will be going the Rabbitohs this week to get the upset. I want those 4.3 points. Let's go the Rabbitohs. Come on. For the next game, we have the Dolphins taking on the Storm. Now, I like what the Dolphins have been doing in recent weeks. They've definitely moved away from the first couple of rounds where they've been making silly errors, giving away dumb penalties, but coming up against a Storm side that is rolling right now. The only chance that I see for them is on that left side where they have Bostock and Herbie going against Grant Anderson and Sualavi Fa'alongo this week. Big height differential for Bostock against Fa'alongo. I expect Bostock to score a try in the air in this game. He's just going to rise above Fa'alongo. Fa'alongo is going to have to do quite a lot to be able to deter him from doing that. And Herbie running at Grant Anderson, don't love the tackling match up there. And for the Storm, the only reason that I will be tipping them this week, and he could still pull out for this game, is that Jerome Hughes is back into the side. He was in the side last week, but he didn't finish the game with an injury. He's been cleared of that injury, but he has had a bit of a history of pulling out late in games, and I'm not exactly sure whether that will continue. But if he's there, I expect the Storm to get a win. Yes, it's only the 1.1 points. No one's really on the Dolphins at the moment. 11% of you guys are only on the Dolphins. They've been pretty good, but I do expect the Storm to get a win. For the big predictions, Harry Grant has to step up. Longy's identified that in his big prediction, that he thinks that Harry Grant will get on the board this week. We've been waiting for a big score from Harry Grant. I just feel like he's not doing that much because he doesn't need to. There's so many guys around him. That spine is so talented. They're taking a lot of pressure off him to, it means that he doesn't really have to show his hand too much. But Harry Grant is definitely still a threat, and I do love this matchup for him. And for me, I've gone a different route. I've expected that Fa'alongo will get 2 tries in this game. He will have a bit of a tough matchup defensively, but he can cook Bostock. Bostock isn't the fastest winger in the world, and I love what this kid brings each and every week. He is absolutely electric. But guys, going to get on the Storm, and hopefully those predictions get up. For our next game, we have the Warriors taking on the Broncos over in New Zealand. Now, had this game been at full strength for the Warriors, I probably would have tipped them, but with the outs that they have this week, it's just looking a bit ridiculous right now. We have Capewell into the centres because their backs are just, they're nowhere to be seen. We have Roger out. There's Charles Nickel-Klukstar out. We have Fisher Harris out. It's not looking great for the Warriors. And for me, the Broncos got embarrassed last week. They definitely should have played a lot better against a team that isn't known for their defense, and they only managed to score most of their points against 12 men. And that's not what the Broncos are about. They're free-flowing, attacking football. And last week, we didn't see any of it. We saw a bit of it in that 10-minute period where they were playing against 12 men. But other than that, they were largely shut down. And Payne Haas and Carrigan were largely kept in check as well. For me, the big matchup, though, has to go to Capewell and Kosi pairing together against Gemmet, Shibasaki, and Arthurs. Now, Arthurs has scored in every game this year, so I do expect that to continue. Kosi, not the best defensive winger going out there. He loves to jam in, but sometimes he does get it quite wrong. For our big predictions, once again, Payne Haas has been identified by Longy to score 75 fantasy points. Had a bit of a dull week last week, obviously, with the Broncos not winning, not having the run of it for most of the game. Haas didn't exactly get the attacking stats that a lot of fantasy owners would like. I have him as well, and I've been a bit disappointed since I've gotten him. I've only gotten him 3 weeks ago, and that's coincided with his downward slide. I'm starting to think it might be me at this point in time, but his offloads have definitely decreased per game, and I just want to see him crack out that big score. Hopefully he can do it against the Warriors this week. They showed nothing on the defensive end last week. Could be a good idea to get on Payne Haas to be your captain in fantasy this week. I'm probably not going to do it, but each to their own. He has put out some massive scores this week, and that's why I traded him into the team in the first place. For my prediction, I think that Reece Walsh will score a 40-20 in this game. Now, there hasn't been a lot of 40-20s kicked in this one, but the reason I am going with it this week is it should be a little bit dewy out there. I really expect Reece Walsh to get on the front foot. He loves going for the 40-20 and tried to catch out Teddy a couple of times last week. Unfortunately, Teddy, very experienced, was onto it in a flash. Taken to a picky, though, not the most experienced fullback going around. I think he could get caught out of position at some point, and therefore Reece Walsh will pounce on a 40-20. But guys, going to go the Broncos in this one. I know it's a bit boring, the 1.5 points. You get 3 if you tip the Warriors, but it's just I don't like the outs for the Warriors, and I don't like their chances in this game, especially with Brisbane coming off a loss, and no Fisher Harris is not as scary as it could be. So let's go with the Broncos in this one. Now, guys, moving on to our 5th game of the weekend, we have the Roosters taking on the Panthers. And if we cast our minds back to just 1 month ago, this Panthers side were rocked by the Roosters, who had a 16 game losing streak against them, and in a high scoring affair, which has been the case for most Panthers games this year. They haven't really defended anything, to tell you the truth. But I do think that the Roosters are a decent team, and they should have a couple more wins than just 2 this year. But their 2 wins have been against teams they were not expected to win at all. In this one, a lot of people are backing them, and I don't love that for the Roosters. I don't know week to week that they can back up a kind of performance that we saw last week from them. I just haven't seen enough consistency of it. Hugo Savala was outstanding, but the big matchup for me this week is the centre pairing of Mark Nawaqanitawase and Crichton to go against Martin and Garner. Garner defending at centre this week. I don't love that, but Isaac Tungo's been terrible in that position, guys. Obviously, Ivan Cleary has gone from a more stern defensive player to get in there, and Garner has done it before, so I'm wondering whether he can do it again. And I will be tipping the Panthers to bounce back in this one. I think I may have tipped them 3 out of the 4 weeks that they have lost games. I think it's actually 4 times out of the 5 weeks that they've lost consecutively, except from last week. But I do think that they'll bounce back against the Roosters. I don't see them losing 2 games to the Roosters in 1 year, but then again, I could be completely wrong. The Panthers are all over the shop for me. They are currently coming second last in the comp, so yeah, it's a bit ridiculous right now. For Longy, once again, he's backed his boy Thomas Jenkins to get 40 points. Man, he's been a find this year, Thomas Jenkins, with a few injuries. He's come in there, played his role really, really well, and if Casey McLean could actually find a pass, maybe he'd have a few more fantasy points under his belt, but hopefully he does get over the stripe a couple of times this week and increase that score. I expect it to be more than 40 points. Hopefully we get over there. For my prediction, guys, I just expect the missed tackle count to continue. I think both of these teams could be a little bit sloppy on the defensive end. We saw it earlier this year in round 2. Why not again? I think the Panthers might miss 36 plus tackles in this game. Now, moving on to the 6th game of the weekend, guys, we have the Titans taking on the Raiders, and they do not have a great record against the Raiders. The Raiders have won 9 out of the last 10 games between these two teams, so it doesn't look good for the Titans on an early outlook, but they are starting David Fifita this week, which does give me hope for his minutes, but he's going against Hudson Young this week, especially if he maybe swaps sides. I think Hudson Young is the form second rower in the competition right now, or at least one of them. So it's a big test for David Fifita. His motor has been questioned at times, but the fantasy points were there on display, full of attacking stats. Hopefully he continues that vein of form going into this week. It will be key if they are to get anywhere against this Raiders side. I just don't love the matchup, though. This Raiders team, I love Fogarty. He really directs the team around and really can put other teams under pressure as well with his kicking game. Don't know if the Titans have that in the kit bag. They do have a lot of running in them, but the consistency isn't again there. Like, they should have this great team on paper, but it just never transitions to the field. Longy, though, has backed the other second rower, Beau Fermor, to grab 60-plus fantasy points in this one. Now, I'm guessing that is based on the fact that Beau Fermor has been moved to the second row and not playing centre as was first thought with this coming out. But I do think that Beau Fermor is a much better scorer at second row. Always gets the minutes, and I think he should be in the Queensland side as well, just a side note there. For my big prediction, I've backed the Titans to make 10-plus errors this week. I do think that they've been making a lot of errors in games. I don't necessarily think it means that they will lose this one. It's a very 50-50 coin toss type of game for me, and you do get 3.5 points for taking on the Titans. But I just think this Raiders forward pack is in much better form. They are so great. I loved what Tarpany was doing last week. Ethan Strange came alive for me. It was against Para. albeit Parramatta aren't the best defensive side, but neither are the Titans. They gave up 30 plus points to the Dragons last week. So I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one. I know only 1.4 points, but let's get on the Raiders here. Moving on to the penultimate game, guys, we have the Knights taking on the Sharks. Now, for me, the Knights aren't in the greatest position right now. They've only scored 9 tries through 6 games of football, and they're averaging, I think it's 1.8 tries a game. They've only scored 10 points in their last 240 minutes of football. That's 3 games. They've scored 10 points, and they shouldn't have scored a try last week either. That was pure trash at the end of the game from Fletcher Sharp. But he competed on the play and he got the ball down. But like honestly, it was as good as a 0. And that's why I'm backing them to get 2 tries this week. Come on, Knights. You can get over the line twice. Surely you give it to Marzu or Best. Give them some space with the ball and let them run, because Ramian and Stone Street, who they're going up against this week, aren't the best defenders in the world. Ramian can definitely miss a tackle. And for me, Best is one of the best runners of the football in the competition. You need to give him early ball. Tyson Gamble back into the side this week. They've changed the halves once again. And you do get 3.5 points for the tip here. And I'm going to back the Knights at home. It might be crazy, but for me, the Sharks haven't been a great team this year. It's just a bit lackluster. I'm not seeing the 17 on the field each week play to their fullest potential. And I think that is definitely holding the Sharks back from being considered a genuine premiership threat. Yes, they got the win last week, but it was a bit gritty. Hines missed a couple of goals, and then it ended up being a lot closer than it probably should have been. But hopefully Hines can get over the hump this week. That's what Longy's predicting, at least, with 60 fantasy points for Hines. Yeah, I I like Hines. I think he is a fantastic club player, club level player. He shouldn't be considered for any representative football moving forward. Not until I've seen that genuine elite level from him. And I think we were a little bit early on him a couple of years ago, throwing him into the Blues side. But I just think that, again, he seems to be getting in his teammates' way. Last week, he didn't do that as much. And he's taking less and less responsibility in order for the Sharks to win. So, with that in mind, I do think the Knights can pounce back this week. They have a lot of pressure on them, and when you back them into a corner, they can definitely play some of their best football. So I'm getting on the Knights for the 3.5 points. Now we move on to the last game of the round, and this is always one of my favourite games when it comes to Easter weekend. It is the Monday game with the Tigers taking on the Eels. Now, this fixture has become a bloodbath in recent years. These teams love going at each other, and it is often close as well, and there has been a lot of talk about the Tigers this week. Okay, firstly, Lachlan Galvin. Everyone's been talking about it. I think personally that he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do. He has shown in the past an affiliation to not want to be there, regardless of the fact that you build the team around him, regardless of the fact that you wanted him to be there and you wanted to give him all this money. He's well within his rights to say, I don't want to be here. And yes, they've given him a shot. But I just think the pettiness comes in when you've got teammates going to social media in order to voice their frustration. Taruva probably needs to choose some better friends. Honestly, as well, I don't know if he can say much going to another team for money. He clearly left the Panthers for more money. And Luai, for a second, I would think that Luai would not want this kind of narrative out there that he is a cyber bully. I don't think he is. But he has a history of going to Instagram to voice his frustration as well. No doubt he's probably done it to Galvin's face, and he's probably not been as well received, Galvin, as well by his teammates, and we have heard some stories about that. But I just think that this is, a 26, 25-year-old man who has a lot of experience in the league, grew up as a young half, who had a lot of doubters on him as well. And he's left his club that gave him everything. I just think that when you come to having a go at a 19-year-old kid who's pretty much figuring out who he is as a player and who he wants to be, and he's clearly got an idea of who he wants to be, otherwise he wouldn't leave, it's just a bit of a grey area. that we can get into, but there's a lot of talk about the Tigers. For this game, though, the matchup for me, Luai, Dewey, I love Dewey back into the halves. We all know at the Casual Athlete, we are massive fans of Adam Dewey in the halves, and he goes against Moses and Dylan Brown this week. Moses back as well. It's a huge clash. And no doubt that line has come in the last couple of days with Moses coming back in. Only 2.8 points for the Parramatta Eels. I would love it to be a bit more. The Tigers showed so much defensive fortitude last week. Can they continue that again? It's tough for me to say, but I actually think the Eels will get a win this week. I think I said on my Monday video that I won't tip them, but Moses being injected into this side adds a little bit of something. And for me, the Tigers lost their second best player this year. Their first best player is Terrell May. And Dewey, does he offer the same as Lachlan Galvin in the decision-making process? Probably not. But Dewey is a phenomenal runner of the ball, and that is why Longy has backed him to score over 60 fantasy points this week. As we know, Dewey scores always very well when he plays in the halves. Should have a few kick meters in there as well. A few try assists. Para's defense isn't the greatest. He might grab a try as well. You never know, but he is going up against Moses in defense this week. And for me, I expect Moses on the other side to score a try as well. I know that the Tigers were the best defensive team last week, but I think Moses has got a point to prove and really needs to drag this Eels team out of the doldrums. And he is their captain. He is their club superstar. The team is built around Moses, and to have him back in the side will just be nothing but good for them. So, guys, that's it for Last Minute Madness this week. Hopefully, I did a good enough job solo. If you liked the video, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel and download the TBC Live app. The link is in the description below. Longy will be back with me next week after his tour around the world, and we'll catch you next week.